Hi, and welcome to the show. My name is Keith Bollier, and I'm here with my guest today, John Conlog. Tell me a little about where you grew up and how it was living there.
Okay. So I grew up in northern Maine. Most of my years I spent in a town called Presque Isle, which was the big city in the Aroostook County. It was almost 12,000 people. So Aroostook County is bigger than Connecticut and Rhode Island put together, and in the whole county there were less than 100,000 people. So it's what you would describe as sparsely settled. It's beautiful, it's quiet, it is near absolutely nothing. I always say it's not the end of the earth, but I can see it from there. But it was a nice place to grow up.
What was your reason for moving?
When I went to college.
Okay.
So I went to college in Connecticut, first at the University of Bridgeport for my undergrad, and then Fairfield University for my graduate work, and decided at that point I really didn't want to return to northern Maine.
And did you move around at all in your childhood, or did you strictly live in Presque Isle, Maine?
Lived in Presque Isle the whole time. We lived in
Okay.
a couple different places over the years in Presque Isle,
Gotcha.
but that was where I grew up basically my whole childhood.
And where did you go to college?
So I went to the University of Bridgeport in Connecticut for an industrial design program. And then after that, I went to Fairfield University and did my master's in communication.
Which school did you like the best?
They were really different. So I liked them both, but Fairfield definitely had a very different vibe about it. It's a Jesuit school, which I was not used to. There were a lot of children of high-powered people there, so someone would point to someone and say, "You see that guy? His dad is the ambassador to Mexico." Or, "You see that guy? His dad is the president of H.J. Heinz Company." So you'd say, "Oh, okay, good to know." And at the point that I was there in my graduate work, I was also on staff. So these were things that you kind of needed to know as a staff person. It was a lot more important to know who you were dealing with at Fairfield than it would have been at a lot of the other schools I've worked at.
And why would you say you attended these particular schools? Like, what made those schools stand out among the rest that chose you to go there?
So one was a very conscious choice, and the other one I kind of fell into. University of Bridgeport was a very conscious choice. At the time that I was applying to colleges, I wanted to be an industrial designer. I specifically wanted to be an automotive designer. So at that time, I actually sent a letter to Chrysler Corporation and said, "I'm looking at being an automotive designer. Can you recommend any schools?" And they recommended two schools, one of which was Art Center College of Design in California, and the other one was University of Bridgeport in Connecticut. I am not a West Coast guy. I hate the Lakers. I hate the Dodgers. I hate everything about Hollywood. So I could not see myself doing the California thing, and I also didn't like the idea of living in a state that someday might slide off into the sea. So I said, no, not going to do that. Too far from home. Too many things I don't like already. And so the other school that they recommended was actually the University of Bridgeport in Connecticut. So it was the only school I applied to. Thank God I got in. And so that was how I made the choice to go to Bridgeport. When I graduated with my degree in design from Bridgeport, it was in the middle of a recession. Stupidly, companies lay off designers during a recession. They lay off people, and one of the people that often gets cut are designers, which makes no sense, because at that time you should be trying to be innovative and come up with products that are going to, appeal to people. But there was a recession. I didn't want to go back to northern Maine because there were no jobs there. I knew that. And so I had worked in residence life as an RA when I was at Bridgeport. And in the middle of the summer, I was working as a summer RA in Bridgeport while I tried to figure out what I wanted to do after I graduated. And a graduate assistantship opened up at Fairfield University in residence life. So I applied for the graduate assistantship. I got that job. And then, as a condition of being in the GA position, I actually had to get admitted to a graduate program. So I kind of did this backwards. So I got the job, and then I applied and got into the Master's in Communication program at Fairfield.
And did you intern anywhere, your postgraduate, undergraduate degree? Like after you went to undergraduate degree? School?
I never did an internship.
No?
No. I went right from that undergraduate program to my master's program, and at that point I was working residence life at Fairfield, and I decided I like this. It's interesting. You never have the same day twice. It seems like I'm good at it, so I decided that I would keep doing that until it wasn't fun anymore. What I say at this point is either I'm still having fun or I've just lost any conception of what fun is. So I think it's the first one though. I think it's the fact that I'm still having fun.
What made you decide to go into teaching, like overall? Like, what was your number one choice to make that decision?
So shortly after I got here at Westfield, I was approached by the then chair of the communication department, and someone in academic affairs had shared the fact that I had a master's in communication, and I was approached and they said, would you ever be interested in teaching? And I said, well, I don't want to do it in my first year because, I'm in a brand new job as the director of housing here and kind of want to get my feet under me in the job, but I'd be interested in doing it after that. And had never really thought about teaching. And it's funny because I come from a family of teachers. My mother taught fourth grade in the same school for 40 years. My father had some background in teaching. My brother has background in teaching. My aunt was also a teacher for several decades. And I had never actually thought about being on that side of the classroom. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, that could be kind of fun. That could be interesting. So I started teaching here back in, I guess it probably would have been 94 or 95. And I've taught at least one class almost every semester since then.
And where did your interest in the field of communications come from?
So at the point that I got the graduate assistantship at Fairfield, I had to look at what the master's programs were that were available. And there was a counseling program, and I just looked at that and said, that's not me. And I looked at the descriptions of the courses in the master's program at Fairfield, and I said, well, that sounds interesting. That sounds interesting to me. So it really was just looking at what my choices were at that time and saying, yeah, I think these are things that sound exciting to me. These are things that sound interesting. And so that's what led me to jump into the communications masters.
And what attracted you to work at Westfield State?
So there were a few things. One, my wife is a native New Englander too. She's from Rhode Island. I'm from Maine. And so region was part of it. We spent 3 years in Ohio after Fairfield, and I spent 6 years at the University of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. And we knew at some point we would want to move back toward New England. That was just home for us. So it was partly about geography, and it was partly just the fact that when I had the interview here on campus, I really liked the feel of the campus. Students were friendly. There was a real strong sense of campus. It was big enough that it would be interesting. It was small enough that you could get to know it. And my previous experience was being at the University of Pittsburgh, which is huge. 30,000 students, really focused on its medical school, its law school, its graduate programs, its professional programs. And I really wanted to go to an institution that was focused on what the undergraduate experience is. And that was definitely true for Westfield.
Gotcha. How long have you held your position for at Westfield?
So I've been here since 1993, basically in the same job. I've added a few responsibilities to my portfolio over the years, but basically been in the same job now for 22 years.
And you didn't work at any schools previously to this?
I did.
Okay.
I worked at the University of Pittsburgh, and I also worked at Ohio University in Athens, Ohio for 3 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What would you say motivates you to do what you do? Like the most rewarding aspect to teaching?
The aha moments that students have, where you are talking about something or students are presenting something, where you show a clip or you have a discussion and you can see the light bulb go on in someone's head. That's pretty cool. That never gets old.
So you like seeing people learn,
Mm-hmm.
is what you're trying to say?
Absolutely.
Okay. Gotcha. What are your personal goals you most want to accomplish in your line of work?
And this is going to sound so vague and trite, but I guess just to be the best person I can be doing what I'm doing. So if it's working in my communication course, to try to make that a really good experience for students and have them walk out of that class feeling like their world changed in some way as a result of that course. And if I'm looking at it from the perspective of my work on campus in the residence halls, I look at students' experiences in the residence halls as just being a very different classroom. It's more like a living laboratory. So hopefully students walk out of their experiences on campus with skills that they can use every day for the rest of their lives, whether that's communication, compromise, learning about diversity, learning about themselves, learning about how other people regard things.
And what would you say are the most critical problems facing your field in today's society?
I think one of the biggest problems is students and resiliency and problem solving. That we have a generation of students whose parents have done a lot of things for them, and so learning how to solve things out for themselves and figure things out for themselves.
And we're out of time, folks. Thank you so much for joining us, along with my guest, John Kylog. My name is Keith Bullier, and have a great day, and thanks for watching.